Eva Egron-Polak is Secretary General of the International Association of Universities, an independent and global working institution based at UNESCO in Paris. She has focused the organization's work on several of the pressing policy issues in higher education: internationalization, intercultural learning, provision of equitable access to higher education, the contribution of higher education to sustainable development, to education for all. Under her leadership, the association works on guidelines for an institutional code of ethics for higher education. Eva Egron-Polak studied French literature, political science, and international political economy in the Czech Republic, Canada, and France. She is also a member of committees at UNESCO, the European Commission, OECD, and others. In today's globalized world, most of the urgent problems are in fact global in scope. For example, the dangers of global warming, nuclear energy and weapons, fair trade regulations, decent labor standards, problems of migrants and refugees, and so on, to just mention a few. In fact, nobody remains outside global interconnectedness today. The philosopher Martha C. Nussbaum argues that education should contribute to seeing ourselves not just as citizens of a particular nation, but as citizens of the world. In my opinion, this includes learning more about global issues at university in order to understand how particular communities are affected by global interconnectedness. So, my question is, what is your understanding of learning for global citizenship? And is this demand integrated into the IAU agenda?
Well, thank you. It's a very, at first, a simple, but also a very complex question. One of the most important aspects about global citizenship is to gather and have an understanding of the other's perspective. I think that we are, even when we stay at home, confronted by very different cultural traditions in our daily life. And so universities need to prepare students to be able to live, whether at home or abroad, with that kind of understanding of different languages, different cultures, different ways of doing things. One of the things that Martha Nussbaum also said was that higher education has to teach students empathy. Basically, being able to understand the other. And I think that that is something absolutely critical. Do we, IAU, integrate this into our work? Well, by promoting internationalization and by undertaking research and advocacy to promote internationalization, I think that is our way of saying students, graduates, need to have been exposed to international education, whether it's through mobility, whether it's through curriculum, whether it's through having fellow students from other parts of the world sitting next to them and interacting with them. That is an introduction to global citizenship that I think every student has to have an opportunity to have.
My next question is, how can students at their home university, for example in Central Europe, be best prepared to meet the far-reaching demands of the globalized knowledge society? And what are important subjects or languages or pedagogies that should be part of students' education or curricula?
Well, I don't think there is a single answer to that. I don't think there are, in fact, any particular disciplines that students should study to be prepared for a globalized world. I think, on the contrary, every discipline should integrate an international or a global dimension into its program. And I am a fairly strong believer that students should also go outside of their discipline to broaden their horizon. So be multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary in their studies. In terms of languages, I think that obviously having a second and in fact a third language is almost a must today, even though English is such a dominant common language. The wealth that one gains by speaking a third language, whether it's Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, is unequaled. So I would encourage all students to learn as many languages as possible, at least one other besides their own and English. And I think students just simply need to be open in their study program to other ways of learning or other disciplines. I think a narrowly defined discipline is, I think, a poor education. Then if you can broaden, be a physics student, but take courses in philosophy if you can, or be a sociologist, but take courses in biology if you can. So that would be my suggestion.
Good. And the last question, what are important social goals of higher education in order to advocate global responsibility?
Well, I think one of the major social responsibilities of higher education is towards inclusiveness and towards making access to learning and to higher education of quality accessible to people from all walks of life, from underrepresented groups. But I don't think we should stop at access. I think we need to be careful so that students also succeed, so it's equitable access, but also success in higher education. That's one of the main responsibilities. Second, I would say universities need to be socially aware of the major challenges facing their country, but also the globe. So issues of sustainable development, climate change need to be made part of the consciousness of a university, both in its ways of being managed, greening campuses, but also in the curriculum. I think ethical conduct needs to be part of the curriculum in order for institutions to be in socially responsible. And finally, I think universities need to see themselves as global citizens, themselves as institutions, and take care that the kind of global higher education system they are building collectively through collaboration and through internationalization is a global higher education system that is diverse, that is inclusive, and that is equitable, and of course that is of high quality in terms of research and education.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.